You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
I'm Drew Leiter.
And I'm Cletus Jacobs.
And welcome to episode 15 of the Legends of the DCU Podcast. Tonight we're doing Absolute Batman number 16 and Aquaman issues number 4 through 10. But before we get into that, let's talk some DC news. All right, Cletus, first up for DC news. Batman Bad Seeds is an upcoming Gotham-wide crossover event from DC Comics led by writers Matt Fraction and G. Willow Wilson, bringing together the stories and creative teams of the titles including Batman, Poison Ivy, Detective Comics, Batgirl, Batwoman, Catwoman, Nightwing, and Harley Quinn. Spanning 10 weeks, the storyline follows a growing crisis that spreads across Gotham City from neighborhood to neighborhood and series to series, with each title contributing key chapters to the unfolding narrative. The event begins on August 26th with a prelude in Poison Ivy number 47 by Wilson and artist Leonardo Fernandez, followed the same day by the launch issue Batman Bad Seeds Sunset number 1 by Matt Fraction and Wilson, before continuing through September and October across multiple Bat Family books and additional event titles yet to be announced.
If we're going to do crossovers, this is my preference for crossovers, Drew, is interbook with, like all of the Batman books telling the same story goes down a lot easier to me than putting a pause on every single title in publication and doing something. So I'm not going to get too worked up about this. Fraction's a great writer. I really like Wilson as well, especially with what she's been doing on Poison Ivy. It's been really, really good. So I think there's great potential for a really cool story to spin out of that. And again, if you want to do events, in my opinion, I prefer it looking like this, where it's relevant characters that we're doing and not just everyone.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I can't remember the last time we had a big Batman event like this. So that's crossing all the books. So I'm excited about that. And with it being just contained in the Batman books, you're going to have fewer creators involved. And I think the story will probably flow better. So I'm looking forward to this. All right, well, let's move on to our next bit of DC news. DC Comics will launch a bold new Elseworld series, Supergirl Survive, on June 3rd, 2026, from the acclaimed creative team of writers Ethan Parker and Griffin Sheridan. The story follows a teenage Supergirl and an infant Superman as they journey across the cosmos together after escaping Krypton, reimagining the classic origin story that traditionally separates the two heroes on their path to Earth. Adding another major twist to the mythology, Kara eventually becomes a Blue Lantern, wielding the power of hope while sporting an all-new costume design specifically for this series. With its cosmic setting and dramatic reinvention of the two DC Comics' most iconic characters, Supergirl Survive aims to deliver a fresh and emotionally driven take on the House of L legacy.
I'm interested, Drew. I have said it a lot. I really, really like the idea of continuing Elseworld stories. Supergirl is an interesting one to throw with this. I'm in.
I'm excited about Supergirl as a Blue Lantern. I'm curious to see what that's going to look like and what her costume's going to look like. I bet it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen her previously as a Red Lantern, and I think that's it. I don't remember if she probably had, it was probably a red ring during the Blackest Night thing. I remember she got a red ring after that. I don't really remember Blackest Night specifically if she would have popped up with one or not, but we've seen her with one, Drew. It was awesome. So I can't wait to see what they do with Blue. And I mean, if we just want to do other Elseworlds with different, Supergirls wearing different rings, I'm cool with it.
All right, well, let's move on to our next bit of DC news. DC has announced Batman and Robin Year One Dynamic Duos, a new 12-issue monthly series from Mark Waid and Chris Samney. Set to launch August 12, 2026. The series continues the story of Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson following their earlier year one run, digging deeper into the early days of the dynamic duo.
I loved the first series of this. Wade's storytelling was really good. I am a really big fan of Samney's artwork as well. I think it's very, very well suited to the throwback style that the story is going for. Yeah, I'm elated, Drew. But I really liked the first one, and I'm very excited for more of it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first miniseries too, and looking forward to this one for sure. All right, and finally, for our last bit of DC news, we got a second Lanterns trailer, and boy, was it awesome.
It was great, Drew. I mean, and we got quite a bit of, we saw him, like, I loved the construct of him making a dollar bill to put in the jukebox was hilarious. We saw some other constructs going on. Got a look at Hal in costume, which I will admit is not my favorite version of his costume, but also we didn't see a lot of it. I'd like to see it, continue to see it in action. The only thing that I think is weird that I do think the show will very much explain to us is the fact that John clearly seems to have been explicitly chosen by the Guardians to be Hal's replacement. I'm curious to get the story with that, and I'm assuming that will explain why there can't just be two rings, why John has to get Hal's ring specifically. I'm interested to see what that story is. I also don't love that plot point, Drew, because as we talked about it, Hal's survivability odds of this series seems very low.
Yeah, especially when he specifically tells John in the trailer that he's not getting his ring over his dead body.
Yeah, I know. He said that. I'm like, let's not say that. We can find another way.
I'm very curious to find out the reason why Hal is training John as his replacement. There's got to be some sort of reason. Like you said, it felt like it was something the Guardians are making him do. So I'm curious what's behind that. Are they wanting Hal to retire, or did Hal do something that the Guardians weren't happy with? I'm very curious to find out the reason why. We saw Guy Gardner in the trailer too, so he's around with a ring. Very curious why we can only have this one ring and not just give John another ring.
I agree.
There's something behind it, and
it feels, Drew, it feels very much explicitly like the Guardians want Hal out and John in, which would be part of the explanation as to why there can only be one ring, is because they don't want both. They want just John. Why won't they just take the ring? I don't know. Like I said, I'm very, very intrigued by what the story that's going to come out of this is. It's perked my interest for sure. God, man, I'm not emotionally prepared for. I keep trying to tell myself I know Hal's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. You just have to accept it. But I'm not accepting it.
I'm expecting it at this point. So if it doesn't happen, hooray. But
and that's the thing. I am totally cool if they want to push forward with John as the primary Lantern. We know that he's going to be in the next Superman movie, and if they want to keep pushing him as the guy, I'm cool with it. I just leave Hal alive. Give me a little hope that he could pop up. He probably won't, but he could. I can live with that. I'll bargain.
So, yeah, I'm just very curious what's going to happen. I'm so excited about this series. I was excited for it before, but even more excited after seeing the second trailer.
Yeah, and the fact that there was also, I saw, Drew, they have hired a different showrunner writer for season 2, which caught my eye for several reasons. Primarily being I wasn't aware that they had already picked it up for a second season. I kind of was under the impression this was going to be a miniseries.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard that they greenlit a second season.
So I don't know. I saw that article and I was like, oh, okay. That's more than I thought was happening. So we'll see. I mean, who knows with any of this, right? Whether that will happen or not. But I was very intrigued by that. So we'll see. I can't wait. I'm so excited for the show.
I know, me too. All right. Well, that wraps up DC news for this week. Let's take a short break. And when we come back, we'll do our comics talk.
Star Trek!
What's this? Discussions of thrilling new Star Trek episodes. Incisive debates on legacy Star Trek topics. What could it be?
Star Trek!
This is Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between.
Star Trek!
Earth Station Trek live on YouTube Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, or listen after on your favorite podcast platform.
And we're back. Let's talk Absolute Batman number 16, Bat Out of Hell. After helping rebuild Gotham's destroyed Veterans Arena, Bruce Wayne struggles with guilt over failing his friends, especially Waylon Jones, whose monstrous condition continues to worsen. Seeking a cure, Batman uses the Amulet of Hecate to summon Wonder Woman. She takes him on a perilous journey through a realm between Earth and the Underworld to challenge the Transformation Master, Acrylus, and obtain a magical artifact capable of helping Waylon. Along the way, Bruce and Diana bond over their painful past. Bruce receives a vision of his father, Thomas Wayne, who reminds him that true heroism comes from constantly working to improve the lives of others little by little. During the battle with Acrylus, Bruce sacrifices himself to protect Diana from a magical arrow, but survives and awakens back in Gotham with the glowing arrowhead embedded in his shoulder. Realizing that everything he needs is inside him, Bruce later leaves the enchanted arrowhead and a note for Waylon, assuring him that he is not alone.
I really enjoyed this issue quite a bit, Drew. I loved another side adventure with him and Wonder Woman going through a mystical realm, fighting a centaur. Bruce, don't stand behind a centaur. Why? Whack. I like that scene.
I know, that was hilarious.
I also really enjoyed the scene between Bruce, Harvey, and Oswald because they wanted just nothing to do with Bruce, which was fascinating because I feel like I don't think Edward was particularly thrilled about losing his eyeballs, but he seemed to be more ready to forgive him. Maybe that's because he's lost too many marbles. I don't know. But those two were just immediately like, nah, man, don't talk to us. Get out of here. That is interesting because you know that those, I mean, obviously they're Two-Face and Penguin, but it'd be a little more antagonistic than we've seen these other reimagined rogues.
Yeah, we're starting to see that they're turning against Bruce. So they're going from friends to villains, it feels like, or this, at least it feels like the beginning of it. We'll see if they end up taking that route or not. Me personally, I wouldn't mind keeping them as friends and having newer villains, but I don't think that's the way they're going to go. I also enjoyed this issue a lot. The team up with Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman. We just saw it in Wonder Woman's issue not too long ago, and it was fun to see them team up again in Batman's issue. Really enjoyed it, and I think it worked out being just a one issue too. I'm excited to see more of that, and I'm sure at some point we're going to get the whole Trinity together. All right, well, let's move on to our next title for this week. Aquaman number 4, Into the Blue. Aquaman learns from Lori Lamaris that he has been taken into the domain of Dagon, a vast cosmic realm of shattered settlements connected by rivers leading to Dagon at its center. Though Lori refuses to explain why she serves Dagon or reveals whether Atlantis and Aquaman's family are safe, Vivian and Arion pursue Arthur through a magical gateway and reunite with him when the ship stops at Coral Outpost. Using his powers to weaken the ship's wood by drying it out, Aquaman breaks free from his captivity just as Vivian destroys his chains with the powerful new weapon, Thalasia, the Trilance Saber. Armed with the blade, Aquaman effortlessly slices the ship in half, defeats the mercenary maids, and declares through Arion that Dagon should prepare for the arrival of a new king. All right, moving on to the next issue, Aquaman number 5. And I'm not going to try to, that title is like, yeah, oh God, it's eating my eye. I thought that was crazy. With a dome city in the blue, Aquaman witnesses the brutal rule of Dagon when a starving family is sentenced to death for hunting illegally. Ignoring Arion's warnings to stay hidden, Arthur intervenes to save a man named Captain Nemo from the city guards. Learning that Nemo has been trapped in the blue aboard his submarine, the Nautilus, after being condemned for freely traveling its waters. When Nemo reveals he has seen Atlantis but cannot reach it because the Nautilus was seized, Aquaman intentionally gets himself arrested, battles the city's defenders and the monstrous Titanus, and then reveals the capture was part of a plan coordinated with Vivian, Arion, and Nemo. After fighting through the guards and escaping aboard the recovered Nautilus, Arthur destroys the dome over the harbor, unleashing deadly sea creatures into the city, while Titanus sacrifices the harbor entrance to ensure their escape. Meanwhile, in his palace, Dagon tells the imprisoned Mera that Arthur is approaching, deciding it will hurt Aquaman more to witness the ruined state of Atlantis than to simply kill his loved ones outright. All right, moving on to the next issue, Aquaman number 6, Death of the Gods. Days earlier, at the Haven of the Divine Deep, a gathering of sea gods debated how to stop Dagon after they had been trapped in the blue by the Great Ebb. But despite some doubting they could defeat him, Dagon suddenly appeared and massacred them all. In the present, Aquaman, Vivian, Arion, and Captain Nemo are attacked aboard the Nautilus by a monstrous sea creature immune to Aquaman's telepathy, forcing Arthur and Vivian into battle while Arion blinds the beast with magic so the submarine can escape. Seeking supplies before their final journey to Atlantis, the group reaches the ruined haven where Nemo searches for fuel and Arion discovers a magical cask of capture, once used by the gods to imprison something dangerous. They are then assaulted by the reanimated corpses of the slaughtered sea gods, whose corruption Arion cannot dispel until he opens the cask and releases a torrent of pure water that cleanses the undead gods and unexpectedly reforms into Zan of the Wonder Twins. Next, we have Aquaman number 7, Tears. As the crew of the Nautilus travels through the blue, Aquaman and his allies liberate enslaved captives from Dagon's forces before following a hidden flowway to the relocated Atlantis. There, Arthur is devastated to discover that decades have passed due to time dilation, while only a month seemed to have passed for him, leaving Garth and Jackson Hyde as elderly men and his daughter Andrina Curry fully grown and bitter toward the father she believes abandoned Atlantis. Arthur reunites with his aged and dying Mera, who urges him to protect Andy and flee from Dagon. Warning that even Aquaman cannot defeat a god, before dying with a final declaration of love, Mera witnesses Dagon arrive at Atlantis alongside the mercenaries and Titanus, while traumatized Atlanteans refuse to resist him. Refusing to retreat again, Arthur vows to mourn later and immediately marches out to confront Dagon, joined by Andy as the monstrous god transforms into a gigantic mass of tentacles and teeth, and the two charge into battle together. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue our comics talk.
Time travelers, Whovians, and fans of the TARDIS, join the crew from Earth Station Who as they dive into all things Doctor Who.
We're talking doctors, companions, villains, and a whole lot of timey-wimey fun.
New episodes every month featuring reviews, interviews, convention panels, and your favorite fandom discussions.
Alonzi!
Geronimo!
Fantastic.
Subscribe now to Earth Station Who, where the past, present, and future of Doctor Who collide.
Aquaman number 8, Invictus. Aquaman, Andrina Curry, and their allies launch a desperate assault against Dagon in Atlantis, with Arthur urging Garth and Jackson Hyde to fight, despite Lori Lamaris that resisting Dagon means certain death. When Dagon instantly kills Garth and Jackson, Arthur breaks free in fury, while Captain Nemo's attacks prove useless against the god's towering true form. Inspired by Arthur's defiance, Lori, Titanus, and the mercenaries turn against Dagon, but the battle turns tragic when Dagon impales Arthur through the chest. As a grieving Andy finally calls him father, Arthur hears the voice of the blue, which reveals that Darkseid's Omega energy is corrupting the universe and asks Arthur to become its avatar in opposition. Revived and empowered by the blue, Aquaman returns wielding weapons made of living water and battles Dagon with overwhelming force until the god swallows him whole, only for Arthur's energy to erupt from within and destroy Dagon completely. Emerging victorious, Arthur crushes the pearl Dagon used to control the blue and tells his surviving companions that it is finally time to return home. Next, we have Aquaman number 9, Homecoming. After defeating Dagon, Aquaman and his surviving allies hold a mass underwater funeral for Mera and the fallen Atlanteans, with Arion cremating the dead through magic, while Andrina Curry silently watches the flames. Traveling aboard Dagon's former vessel, renamed the Blue Ship Nautilus by Captain Nemo, the group returns to Earth, where Arthur's new connection to the Blue is revealed to have elevated him to near godhood. Arriving in the Atlantic during a battle between the Justice League and a possessed Superman, Aquaman effortlessly withstands Superman's attack and alongside his allies purges the corrupting entity controlling him. Later aboard the Watchtower, Arthur explains the events in the Blue to Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, while declining League membership for his warring new companions. Though grieving Mera and believing Atlantis and his loved ones are lost forever, Arthur resolves to continue protecting the oceans and shaves away the beard that marked his ordeal before returning to the sea. Unknown to him, however, Atlantis still secretly exists behind an energy veil, where a living and youthful Mera, Garth, and Jackson Hyde, and a baby Andy watch Arthur swim away, unable to reach him. And then the final issue we're covering this week is Aquaman 10, Lost and Found. An adult Andrian Curry secretly raises a sunken pirate crew from the undead using magic. While in the hidden Atlantis, the infant Andy, Mera, and Jackson Hyde watch Garth fail to break through the chaotic magical barrier isolating the city from the world. Realizing the dimensional distortion resembles the one surrounding Zabel, Mera plans to travel there in hopes of eventually reconnecting with Aquaman. Elsewhere, Arthur uses his godlike bond with the Blue to sense disturbances across the ocean, while Arion, Vivian, and Captain Nemo worry that his immense new powers and grief could consume him if left isolated. When the undead pirate ship attacks near Coast City, Aquaman and his allies battle the magically animated skeletons, with Arion dispelling many of them while Arthur unleashes a massive typhoon. During the chaos, the pirate captain retrieves a buried treasure chest before adult Andrina suddenly appears, destroys the pirates, and steals the chest, ominously warning that worse storms are coming. Left only with the pirates' remains and the mysterious empty pit, Aquaman and his companions are left wondering who orchestrated the attack and what was hidden inside the stolen treasure.
I thought this run was okay, Drew. I really have enjoyed Adams's Green Lantern run. I've been pretty outspoken about how good I think he's been doing on Green Lantern. And this had a similar vibe where it feels like he's going for a big, epic story. It just didn't quite land the same way for me, Drew. That's not to say that there weren't some good ideas sprinkled throughout it. I mean, he was really going for some major set pieces and some really like over the top action where you've got, like almost anime-esque energy blasts happening. So there was some good ideas. And again, I didn't dislike the story, but I think part of it for me was that he was it felt like we were trying to tell a big epic story with Dagon as this, big bad at the end. And it just was way too fast for me to really feel the stakes of the story.
Me personally, I like the story because it felt different from other Aquaman stories we're used to getting.
I definitely agree with that.
It felt new and fresh, and that's why I enjoyed it. Like you, I didn't think it was as good as his Green Lantern run has been, but it felt better than other Aquaman stories we've read recently. So I enjoyed the fresh take on it. There was a lot of elements I liked in it, like we got a new cast of characters, basically. And I was surprised by the addition of Zan, one of the Wonder Twins.
I know when he popped up, I was like, what? The shock value that they were going for definitely worked because that surprised me. I can honestly say that was probably the last character I expected to pop up there.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, like you said, that was a really shock. I wasn't expecting it either. That's something he did that was better than killing off a character or something, I think.
I agree. I much prefer that kind of surprise. Like I said, Drew, I think there was a lot of good stuff and good moments in it. It just, I couldn't quite feel what I felt like he wanted me to on some of the stuff because I just hadn't had enough time to live with it. And I don't know, maybe that's because we were reading them all back to back quickly, but I don't, that didn't feel like the problem to me. Like when he finally fights Dagon, that fight didn't, I hadn't really felt a lot of anticipation for it because I guess for me, Drew, Dagon still felt like a villain of the arc, which is kind of what he was, right? Like I think he wanted him to feel more of like a Sinestro or a Necron from Blackest Night, you know what I mean? Where it's like the big villain that you're building up towards and dealing with. And he wasn't a bad villain by any means. And you could see a lot of the stuff that he was doing, but he didn't have the looming threat that I felt like Adams wanted him to have. And then during the fight where they're in, this future version of Lost Atlantis with much older versions of the people who he's lost, like the two Aqualads and Mira. When both Aqualads die, like it didn't really mean anything to me, Drew, because it felt in the moment like it didn't count. And I kind of couldn't tell whether it was going to all reset right away, which it didn't. To his credit, it didn't. But I mean, even Aquaman himself didn't really react to the fact that both of those guys died.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, and it was, and I'm not saying that he should have, because ultimately they're not dead. We know they're not dead. The present versions of them, so to speak, are still kicking, and it's in some way going to work out. But Aquaman doesn't know that. And the comic snapped along so quickly that it felt like Aquaman had knowledge that the reader had, which he shouldn't have, right? And I couldn't tell. Sometimes it felt like he knew that they were still out there and that it was going to work out. And then it also sometimes felt like he had lost it. Like he thought that he had lost Atlantis permanently and that Mira was really dead. You know what I mean? Like it snaps along so quickly. You don't really get a chance for him to fully establish that or live with that, because we're on to the next big action sequence. And the action sequences were good. So I can't complain. Like the pirate fight in the last comic that we read was really cool. It was fun. And the whole run that we read was fun. I mean, I never, wasn't enjoying myself, but it also, I think for me, the reason this would have been like, for me, this was like a B or B plus comic compared to, in my opinion, his Green Lantern run has been more of an A, is that difference in depth of story where like I was enjoying myself with this. It was good, but I couldn't dig my teeth into it the same way I feel like I've been able to with Green Lantern.
Yeah, I think part of that was I don't think we spent enough time getting to know Dagon as a villain.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the problem of this story. We saw a lot of action from the hero side, but we didn't really spend that much time with Dagon. Because we didn't get to know him as a villain more, I don't think he felt as big of a threat as Jeremy Adams wanted him to be.
I agree. And that's, I think, the thing that kind of put a ceiling on this arc of stories was that a lot of it really hinges on how much you enjoy and want to see the fight of Aquaman versus this Dagon character. And for me, it just was like, it was fine. Again, it was fun. It was the action during the fight was really cool. I can't complain. It was not bad, but it also wasn't like, I'm not going to reread it either.
That goes for me too. So it didn't feel like something you'd want to reread, does it?
No, I think that's where I was sort of at when I read this. To be very clear, like if you want a light, fun Aquaman story, this is definitely it. It's a very fun, really focused on making Aquaman cool and giving you a bunch of cool action sequences with Aquaman. Personally, for my taste, Drew, I still really I don't know if you've ever read it. I really enjoy the Jeff Johns Aquaman run that the two movies are pulling a lot of inspiration from. For me, that's my favorite modern Aquaman story. I also really enjoyed that Aquaman Andromeda story that we read. I think it was a Black Label book. That was really good, but obviously also very different. But this was fine. I mean, it was definitely not bad. It was like a bag of potato chips. Not particularly filling, but you're enjoying it while you're eating it.
Good analogy. All right, well, that wraps up our episode for this week. Do you have a shout out, Cletus?
Yeah, I do. I sent you a sneak preview. This wall art I've been talking about has really gotten me on a kick, and I've been just sort of browsing and looking for other cool comic book covers to go and hunt for stuff that's been coming out. And DC, to their credit, has really been putting out a lot of very interesting variant covers without, in some cases they are, but in many cases without breaking the bank, which is nice. And one artist that I really enjoy is David Aja or Aja. I think it's Aja because he's Spanish, but forgive me on the pronunciation. My favorite thing that he's done, I think, is what most people know him for, is the Hawkeye run with Matt Fraction over at Marvel was so good, and I really enjoyed his artwork. He did on a 12 issue miniseries for Scarlet Witch. He did the covers for all 12, and they're beautiful. And I collected all of those. But he is bounced over to DC recently and has been doing variant covers for Batman with his buddy Fraction. But he also did a few Green Lantern covers, and I sent them over to you, Drew. So one of them features Hal Jordan, and he has a very minimalist style. For those who don't know his art style, it's kind of very minimalist in using a lot of kind of geometry in it too. He did Green Lantern number 33 with Hal kind of rising up in the background. Awesome. And then Green Lantern 34, the next issue, he does a kind of a similar piece with Kyle Rayner on the cover. And then there was a Tales of the Green Lantern Corps Guy Gardner special, and he did another one of those with Guy Gardner on the cover. And the three of them together make a really nice, I think, kind of, if you look at all three of them together, it looks really cool. They don't flow together, to be clear, but the theme really works across the three covers. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. I loved it.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Yeah, when you sent that over to me, I think my response was awesome.
Yeah. I also, Drew, I found interesting. I didn't know this, but I stumbled onto one of them and it made me do some research. The Green Lantern Corps book has a series of variants that they will be doing that they started last month with Atrocitus. And the reason I found it because I saw Larfleeze on the cover of one, and it's Larfleeze. It's a black cover, and it has a picture of Larfleeze with the words avarice kind of like crashing down on him. So it's sort of like an Orange Lantern cover. And then they did one last month with Atrocitus that says Rage. And they're doing one for each of the Lantern Corps. I was very intrigued by them. They're pretty
that's
cool.
awesome.
Next month is Sinestro, so you know I'm scooping that one up.
Oh, yeah. All right. And for my shout out, I'm going to shout out about Wonder Woman, the Hecate, which was a story done by Greg Rucka and J.G. Jones. The reason why I'm shouting out about this comic is because it's not quite a team up with Wonder Woman and Batman because they're basically on opposite sides. This woman comes to Wonder Woman and asks for the Hecate, which basically puts Wonder Woman under her protection. And Batman is after this woman because she's committed some murders in Gotham City. Wonder Woman's sworn to protect her and won't release her to Batman. It also has the Furies in it. You know, they're ready to do their thing.
I have not read that, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. I reread it last night. I didn't remember reading it before. I thought I was reading it for the first time. And then when I read through it, I was like, oh, I think I've read this before. I forgot how good it was. It was released a while back. All right, let me just read the description of it to you. Wonder Woman, the Hecate is a graphic novel by Greg Rucka that explores themes of duty, vengeance, and justice through an ancient Greek ritual. It pits Wonder Woman against Batman when she takes a young woman, Danielle Wellis, under her protection through the Hecate ritual, forcing her to defend Danielle from Batman, who's hunting her for killing her abusers. Actually, not her abusers, her sister's abusers. It's a really good story, and the artwork's really good on it. If you haven't checked that out, I suggest checking it out. It was originally released as a standalone hardcover graphic novel on June 19, 2002, so that tells you how old it is. If you ever seen the cover of it, it shows Wonder Woman's boot stepping on Batman's head. So I don't know if you've seen that cover before or not.
I feel like I should have, Drew, but I'm not really sure if I have.
It was actually painted by comic artist J.G. Jones. The cover was too. So
I'll have to check it out, Drew. I'm not familiar with the story.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out. It's pretty good. All right. If you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line, 317-455-8411. Text us, send a message, or you can email us at legendsofthedcu@gmail.com. All right, Cletus, coming up next week, We've got Absolute Superman 15 through 17 and Wonder Woman issues 20 through 28. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.